As Kim Potter is charged with second-degree manslaughter for the death of Daunte Wright, more information is coming out about her past. I'm Dometi Pongo, and this is MTV News Need to Know. Former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter has been charged with second-degree manslaughter for the killing of Daunte Wright, which happened about 10 miles north of where George Floyd was killed last year. She could face a sentence of up to 10 years in prison and/or a fine of up to $20,000. There have been mass protests every day since Wright's death to demand accountability. Gatherers have been met with heavily armed law enforcement. Tuesday's protests ended violently when police in riot gear, Minnesota State Patrol, and National Guard members used tear gas and projectiles to break up the crowd. Some protesters refused to leave, throwing items like water bottles back at police officers, resulting in over 60 arrests. Many protesters say that police instigated those tense interactions. Speaking about protesters during a midnight news conference on Wednesday, State Patrol Chief Matt Langer said, "The intent of hurting others is just unacceptable and needs to stop," which is ironic because they're protesting because the police keep hurting community members. Potter resigned from the force on Tuesday. She was a 26-year veteran cop, her police union's president, and she had committed questionable actions in the past. In 2019, she advised cops who had used deadly force against autistic 21-year-old Kobe DeMock Heisler, shooting him 6 times in his home. A report from the Hennepin County Attorney's Office found that after DeMock Heisler was shot, Potter was among the first to arrive at the scene. Before the officers secured the crime scene, she instructed the officers involved to exit the residence, get into separate squad cars, turn off their body-worn cameras, and to not talk to each other. This is why it's hard for people to believe Brooklyn Center Police Chief Tim Gannon when he described the fatal shooting as an accidental discharge, saying that she meant to fire her taser. This savviness, this awareness of how to minimize culpability in a shooting is what makes it hard for a lot of people to believe that an officer with so much experience actually pulled her taser accidentally, especially since tasers are positioned on officers' weak sides and weigh a lot less than handguns. She was even training a new officer at the time that she shot Wright. The similarities in this case and countless others are a culmination of evidence that the issue of racial bias in policing is systemic and not just the result of a few bad apples. Derek Chovin, the former officer who killed George Floyd, had at least 22 complaints against him. Zoya Code was among the hundreds protesting in Brooklyn Center on Tuesday. She had reported Chovin for abusive behavior 2 years before Floyd's death. Also on Tuesday, jurors in the Shogun Trial, taking place so close to where Wright's community mourns his death, were told not to watch the news as they were dismissed from court. We've been conditioned to twist ourselves into knots to empathize with cops who make deadly decisions, no matter how irrational those decisions are. Yet, we don't afford that same empathy to the victims. Activist Isaiah James tweeted the excuses we've come to expect from the people who are supposed to keep us safe. "I thought it was my taser. I thought it was my apartment. I thought his cell phone was a gun. I thought he was reaching for something. I thought he was resisting. I thought I feared for my life." The most dangerous place for Black people to live is in white people's imagination. The only way to fix this problem is if we expand our imagination about how police should function in a country that prides itself on being free. I'm Dometi Pongo, and that's what you need to know.